Yes.
Welcome, welcome, family, to the Empower Hour late night edition. Late night
All
edition.
right, all right.
It is a half hour past our normal showtime. We had some glitches, some seriously, we still have glitches, but we kind of worked it part of the way out to be able to still come to you guys live. So, give us a second that we are sharing this stream onto the main The Empower Hour talk show page. So if you guys are joining us, we welcome you. Come right on in. We appreciate you joining us tonight. This is going to be a very, very interesting discussion. As you can see, we have a full panelists of brothers on with us for part two of our program about infidelity. We had all four of us women were on last week, and we talked to you about infidelity from the women's perspective. And so, Brother Gregory here with us in the orange, he mentioned right on the stream, as you know, this is a community platform. So anybody can share, and we take your points of view and perspectives and we actually put them to action. So Brother Gregory said, where are the men? Where are the men in this conversation you guys are having about men? And so we took him to heart for that. And we just said, okay, well, let's do a part two. Would you like to come on? He said, sure. We grabbed him up and three other strong, powerful brothers, and here we are. Here we are, part
Brother
two.
Gregory represented.
Yes.
Yes.
That's right.
Brother Gregory was like, I'm about that. Bring it.
Bring it.
Here we are.
You ain't said nothing but a word.
Well, I just want to make sure I welcome all of you guys. I know Jaser and Brother Vaughn, you guys are not strangers to the Empower Hour. Neither are you, Brother Glenn, Brother Khalid. But to actually have you on in the physical, welcome. And also Brother Gregory, we welcome you from the audience to the stage today. And so I know this discussion is about to be really educational and fun. And so let's do it. Let's dig in. So the last time we had the conversation with the woman, and we were just talking about infidelity, more from the perspective of, is it enough for someone to break up a family, or leave the family dynamic, or just a marriage in general? Is it enough considering the condition of our families as they are now? So that's really why we wanted to talk about this, because we had different opinions. We had some people saying, no, you can work through it. Other people saying, hell yes, leave, don't come back. Once a cheat, always a cheat. So we want to hear from you guys. And so, yeah, whoever wants to start first. Infidelity. Should you stay or should you go? Why or why not? We can start with Brother Talib. I'm sorry, Brother Glenn. You got to bear with me. I know you as Brother
It's
Glenn.
all
Brother
good.
Talib.
It's all good.
Okay.
You know, like I said, that's my medicine name that I received last year in October, which means the clear one and the secret of truth. So concerning the state that our families are in right now, and what I am starting to understand, you can't say whether you're going to stay or you're going to go. You're going to have to go through, go get some counseling and some things of that nature to find out if you're going to be able to put up with what's going on. You know, I'm a believer that 85% of the things that I was taught about being a man was garbage, like it was all a lie. This thing called manhood is taught as you go through life. So even the subject of cheating, infidelity, that's a learned behavior, whether it was physically taught to you or it's in your subconscious. And so unless you put something else in your brain and in your heart and in your spirit to make you think different, you're going to keep on doing the same things that you were once doing. And so because I'm learning to be a student of all things, even when it comes to this thing of monogamy and not cheating, I'm still a babe in that, because before, in my past journey of life, I was a male whore. I will not lie to you. I was a male whore. My sole mission was to obtain as many females as I could. And I was known for that. But I'm grateful for my spiritual journey that actually really started about 10 years ago. So it's a hard subject, and we have to have these talks like this to really start peeling back the surface of this thing, because
Yeah.
it's hard. It's hard. It really is.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. We definitely gonna come back to that. That you know your past life. We want to get Brother Gregory in on the line. What's your perspective when it comes to infidelity? Should you stay? Should you go? What's your initial thought around the subject?
No matter what, keep the family together.
Hmm.
No matter what. No matter what. No matter what it is, unless somebody is really going through something torturous, you must keep the family together. That's the bottom line of any and everything when you're in a, particularly when you're in a state of duress. When you're in a state of duress, you got to keep that family together, because once the family unit crumbles, that's the beginning of the crumbling of everything.
All right.
Do what you got to do. Keep the family together.
Okay, Gregory. Brother Jazir, same question.
Um, to me, that kind of humbly depends on how well you know yourself. Because for me, if that was to happen, first thing for me is to assess the lesson in this activities that your spouse has shown you. What's the lesson in that? What do I need to see first? And then from there, I need to diagnose the root of where this is coming from for them. Like, why did they do that? Where does this come from in their life? And then I was probably just have to tell the truth to myself first. Now that I've diagnosed the issue, do I have what it takes to get past this? And if I can't get past this, then I gotta be honest. Now, because truth and honesty is not the same. So then I gotta be honest and let her know and let myself know it's either time to move on or time to try to wait this out and try to stick to it, like the brother just said. Me personally, I would have to take those things, but it would depend to me on where the root of this is coming from. Why did this person choose this? And what's the lesson for me? If I've learned my lesson from it and that's all I need to get from it, then yeah, maybe it's time for me to move on to the next thing. But for me, I'm about the lesson. If the lesson is learned, it's time to go.
Mm-hmm.
But if not, maybe something here I still need to learn, then I'll stick around and try to help you through it. But I'm not here for you to be your punching bag. Absolutely not.
Okay. All right. Last but certainly not least, Brother Vaughn, we want to ask you that exact same question. What's your initial thoughts around the topic of infidelity?
Yes, ma'am. First, in the name of Allah, the beneficent merciful, I bear witness there is no God but Allah, and Muhammad's messenger. I like to greet the listening audience and the panel once again with the greeting words of peace of Assalamu alaikum.
You're a little muffled, Brother Vaughn, a little muffled.
All right. How about now?
Much better.
That's better.
Got
Beautiful.
Right. Yes, sir. All right. First thing we got to do is identify the word, and the definition of infidelity is, I feel it can be best explained as an action that violates an implicit or explicit agreement between two people, thus harming a relationship. So when we're saying violation, it means that there was an understanding in the beginning, or it should have been an understanding in the beginning, that two people have come together for a mutual understanding and mutual agreement, and someone broke that contract for whatever reason. And if we look at what infidelity is, it's pretty much a learned behavior, as the brother has said earlier. And we got to look at the root of it. Where are we learning this? Because we live in a society that teaches infidelity every day. The music we listen to, the television, everything requires infidelity. Nothing is really talking about structure of the family. And if you look at everything that's being programmed in us, when we put the TV on, what are you looking at? What sells? Infidelity, somebody's cheating with somebody, or we are being turned into savages by our behavior. So we can definitely say things have been taught to us to act outside of ourselves. And we got to extend this back to the time of slavery. The family structure has been broken up since we came to the land, and it's been taught to us. Now, coming out of slavery, we had more families back then and more marriages at that time. But what's happened now, fast forward to where infidelity and cheating is seen to be sport right now. Who can get away with it? I'm saying, the mindset that we bring into it. Nobody's talking about commitment. Nobody's thinking about the structure of it. So infidelity is going on as we speak. Now, as the brother said, what we learn as men, to go out and get as many women as possible. And even as young men growing up, we tell the women wait to get married because we want to protect her virtue. But we tell the men, young boys, have many girlfriends as you want. Yep. So we fit into a stigma where it's passed on as a trophy that it's okay to have many women growing up. So as a boy, you practice the behaviors. That learned behavior becomes an appetite. You feed somebody a certain thing, amount of time, the appetite stays there. So the appetite for lust is very powerful. Anything from here down, when you submit to as a God, that comes your lower desire. And the lower your desire becomes, I'm saying, if lust is your desire, that hunger is always there. Even if a man got married and say, I'm gonna stop. And he's been practicing that lifestyle for 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, wherever you decide to tie down with that one woman, that urge is going to be there. It's like a high, like sex is an addiction, it's like a drug. So that's one issue I believe that we should definitely tap into learned behavior. So that's my response on that.
Thank you for sharing, fellas. I'm gonna come back to Brother Adisa. You mentioned early on that you was a whore, per your words. What do you think caused you to be in that space? Why? Are you muted?
There we go.
Growing up, I had examples of good men, but because of the culture that I was around and the speed of that culture and the things that I was seeing and experiencing at a very young age, I drew to that pimp whore lifestyle. So at a very young age, like when I first had sex, like I had sex when I was like 10 years old. But before that, I was seeing my brothers charm women and they were running trains on them. I'm talking like when I was 5, 6, 7 years old. I was seeing this with my own eyes, how they were able to say whatever they want to say to these young women and they would just do anything. And then I put in the comment last week when the lady was on the chat, I was taught to knock the bottom out of it. Get as many as you can and knock the bottom out of it. So growing up, even though I had influences through Christianity, through more Science Temple, it didn't matter. Once I found out that I was liked and I had the charm, my queen always says to me, you thought you was charming me, but I was very hip to what you were doing. But I wasn't trying to charm her. It was just that which resides in my subconscious, it might have came out, but I was trying to be very honest with her and up in the forefront. I told her from the start that I was a piece of shit. And you know what she said to me? She said, you are a king. You are God. Why would you say that about yourself? You need to tap into like Brother Jasir said, you need to tap into yourself and find out why you even operate and think like that. I had to be honest with myself. I had to have that conscious agreement in spirit to start making those changes and looking at my sisters as queen mothers instead of a piece of meat.
I have a question for the panel. So, do you guys feel like, because I heard Brother Gregory in the beginning, he was saying that you keep the family structure together no matter what, deep, as long as it's nothing torturous. I'm assuming I would say domestic violence and physical abuse fall under that category for sure. But my question is, do you guys think, just looking at where we're at right now as a people, do you guys think that we give up on our relationships entirely too quickly? And I ask that because I know that our temperament for different things may be different. Like Brother Talib, you're talking about how you grew up, but then you also have men and women who may have seen their parents or their parent treated like like garbage. And like some people say my daddy was a rolling stone, so they made up in their mind that that's something that they're not going to have any tolerance for. So they, when they get into their relationships, it could happen one time, and one strike is enough for different individuals. So would you guys say that, one, are we giving up on our relationships entirely too quickly? And even as it pertains to infidelity, would you guys say that?
Yes, I believe so. I believe that we're not used to struggle. We're not used to, because when you're married, you don't really know the person when you're living with them. It's different when you're courting them, but when you're under the same roof, you know what I'm saying, you're learning each other, and everybody develops in their time span, and that's why it's important to have conversations, prayer. It doesn't matter where what your beliefs are, but it has to be a foundation, that a common core where you go to when things don't go right. And I believe that a lot of us do give up easily because we're not used to dealing with struggle. We're not used to pain. And every time we get pain, we run from it, and we say it's over. It's easy to quit something. Just like, but if you have a habit of quitting something, that means, like as the brother said, if you start a business and it gets hard, you quit. If you try to pick up a new hobby, you quit. Say many of us have a passion about something, but with that passion, you have to deal with a trial. So everything in life is a trial, no matter what you get into. And a lot of us, because we ran from trials all the time, when we get into a marriage or a commitment, that's going to be our habit. It's a habit forming. This is why you see so many divorces today, because having a conversation is not being there. The understanding, I understand people grow, but are you growing together? Do you try to see the other person's point of view? And sometimes we do more talking than we do listening. Are you a good listener? Because sometimes your partner can be trying to say something to you, but because of our pride, and our ego, saying, we draw a line in the sand, say, nope, I'm not bound out to that. I'm the man. I'm not doing this. And sometimes, as a woman, saying, when your man's trying to express himself, because a lot of times men have a problem opening up to women, it's when we see that reaction where we throw the brick wall up, because we don't want to be in the confrontation, and we can't out talk y'all. That's something we cannot do. That's not going to happen. And that's not being disrespectful, but we just want to make sure that communication is key, and where we get our advice from plays a large role as well. If you have your circle is about family unit, and me being in the nation, that's what we always talk about, the family unit. Saying, staying together, work it out, talk it out. Saying, we work just as hard, like the brother allocated. What are you willing to fight for? Because you made a commitment, as we said earlier, infidelity is a contract. So if you're going before God, no matter what your belief is, then you're being a liar to God, because you didn't fight hard enough to keep what you say you love. I'm saying, did you go with the wrong intent? Was lust part of that commitment from the beginning? Because that was a weak foundation. But if your foundation is strong from the beginning, then I believe all things can be worked out.
Anybody else
Okay.
want to?
Anybody want to add to that? Okay, well, Gregory, you look like you want to say something.
I went down several years ago. I went down a very interesting rabbit hole about this issue when I found out that I had an aunt that I didn't know about, and I found out that I didn't know about her because she was also my cousin.
Wow.
She was the result of infidelity between my grandfather and my grandmother's twin sister. And it happened when my grandmother was sick and her sister was over taking care of her. And that's when it happened. And I asked my mom, like, well, why did they break up? And she said, well, Decatur, Mississippi, at that time, you didn't do that. And I did a little deep diving to try to find out why. Why would somebody put up with something like that? Why am I now, in my 50s and I'm just not learning that I have an aunt that nobody wanted to talk about, And I went down there and I talked to her and stuff. She's a beautiful person. And I was robbed of my aunt because they could not work out their issues. But I wanted to see why. And so I was asking around, I'm like, well, what was going on during that time? And my mother and my aunt, they told me during that time in Decatur, Mississippi was the hotbed of the Ku Klux Klan. The only men that would be able to stay down there was men who learned to stay in their place. At that time, it was a mass exodus of men. Any men that had any type of ambition or whatever, they left. They was out of there. So she said there was a man shortage. And she said that any man that she knew, almost all of them had what she called outside women or family cross town or something like that. And I was wondering why that was. And I found out because what went down with us is a lot of people don't notice that after we walked off the slave plantations, about a third to a quarter of us died. We died. We starved. There was nobody to help us. We starved. We were exposed to the elements, and we died. And the brunt of that happened to Black men. Black men would sacrifice themselves in order to save their families. Then they came with the chain gangs. There's always been a shortage of Black men in this country forever, ever since we've been in here. And when any type of biological creature, I don't care whether it's humans, dogs, lions, whatever it is, if they're in any kind of a strained situation, the females are gonna go for the strong males in mass. In mass, they're gonna do that, and the strong males are going to respond. And this, from a scientific or sociological, biological perspective, that's a natural thing to happen because that's the only thing that's going to save that group of people under that type of duress. Breeding with the strong males when you're under duress is just about the only thing that will keep your people going. So I didn't agree with what my grandfather did, but instead of hating him, what I did a deep dive to try to find out what's the sociological circumstances, and how did dealing with that sociological circumstance, how does that relate to how we act now? What is that? How does that habit that we got during that time to survive, how does that deal with what we're dealing with now, and how do we? And I'm still trying to figure out exactly how to think about it. It's our history, and a lot of people don't know about it because it's stuff that you got to twist the old folks' arms to. Like I had to with my mom and them. I had to twist their arms to find out, what's going on. So I refuse to hate my people, my family. I refuse to let anger take me over. I was angry at my grandfather about this. Angry because I met my aunt and I was I was denied her my whole life because they couldn't work out their issues to tell me about her and put me before her. So, you know, these are difficult things. And I think that the only way we're going to really get to really the bottom of this is to uncover these behind the curtains. You know, like my brother said, he was a whore. There was two types of people back then. It was the people who just took advantage of the thing to be players, but then there was the legitimate people who legitimately loved 2 or 3 women and had 2 or 3 families. That's the thing. That was a legitimate thing that went on with us, and it had to be go on with us. It was a lot of us died. Men died. It's never been enough black men to go around ever in this culture.
How come you have a question?
I do. I just wanted to your point when you was talking about the strongest in nature and how that flocks. And I thought about chickens. I want chickens for myself. It's a long story. I don't live on the farm, but I should. As I was researching chickens, I found out that when a rooster is in the hen, the chickens lay more eggs.
You mean in the pen? Oh.
In the pen, thank you.
Yeah.
Chicken house.
Chicken house.
Yeah. that the chickens actually lay more eggs because they're more relaxed, they're less stressed, they feel that sense of security because a rooster is there versus not. So that's a fascinating point. And we are a part of nature.
And the rooster's not monogamous.
Gregory, you just introduced a different different part of the conversation, which is the sociological piece of it, and I think that's important too, because if we're talking about this, usually when we talk about it, I feel like a lot of it is rooted in like what we believe for ourselves, whether it's a religious belief or our spiritual practice or spiritual system that we're in, whatever that may be. But when you talked about the sociological aspect of it, like I was just like, just from things I've read I'm not in my head to you like, yes, because sometimes it is out of survival. But I think what we're talking about here is particularly people being undisciplined in relationships and in committed relationships and in marriages, and what the outcome of that lack of discipline produces, and how are we able to move forward from it, or are we not? And should we or shouldn't we? And I think most of you guys are saying, like, which is interesting, by the way, most of you guys in the panel are saying like, it depends on why it was done, without really saying that, like having that conversation with that person. Just spoke to like, what is there for me to learn from the experience? And if there's nothing, or if I've learned what I had to learn, then it's time to move on. Like, this is really interesting to me, because you guys are none of you guys are saying, no, deuces, I'm out. Whereby the idea that's out there is that men cannot deal with infidelity. Women tend to forgive and men do not. But here we are having a completely different conversation, which I am so happy about. But I wanted to shift a little bit to when is it time to go when infidelity is involved, for men or women? When is it time to go?
The thought, and I think that what you put in your mind is, if you're thinking about it, it would say you're not really 100% committed in the relationship if you're thinking about what's outside instead of working what's within. And I think that that's something I think both parties should look at, because if it begins, like I said, infidelity starts with a thought and then you act out on it. So it depends on your strength or what you want. And that's why we mentioned lust. Infidelity builds around lust. It's feeding into a desire that you know it's not right, but you do it anyway. You know it could cause pain. It can cause a lot of friction. It cause a lot of interruption, but you're willing to take that risk for a moment You know what I'm saying? And most of the time, you know what I'm saying, if we're not thinking on a higher plane, and it is not being doing religious, but you have to ask yourself, why did you come into a relationship in the first place? If you're not revisiting that, then you know maybe a commitment or a relationship is not what you should be seeking. There's some personal issues that you are dealing with that you should address. So I believe on both parts when a man sees a woman, because most of the time y'all choose us. And as the brother said before, when he's let the sister know up front, hey, this is my lifestyle, you know what I'm saying? This is what I'm about. And she said, why would you say that? Because she sees something in him, I'm saying a quality in him that maybe he didn't see. And it's upon her to take that chance and say, okay, he did tell me up front my behavior pattern. So if he acted out on what he told her up front, you know what I'm saying? I believe that that should be a key in communication with that. So I do believe that if we go into anything, the question should always be why. And then that could pretty much go back to what you're asking, Sister Anifa, is where does it start at? The start comes with the conversation. Am I correct?
No, Brother Vaughn, no, no, no. I was
With
asking,
me,
yeah, when when is it best?
time to
when's
Like,
enough
go?
enough?
yeah, when is enough enough?
Oh,
Talking
well,
about
they're
infidelity. Like,
breaking the
how do
contract.
you know when you need to just cut it off right there?
Well, it's the contract. It's like you have I'm using the example of a car, right? If you're paying a car note, right? And you keep missing those payments. And eventually, after you keep missing all them payments, they repossess your car because at one point your credit's no good. It was saying you're showing a pattern that you can't keep a commitment to what you said you're obligated to. So I'm using that example of a car and a car note to why they repossess, or you get a foreclosure on your house. The bank tells you that your credit is no longer worthy of you saying that you're going to
You
be
can't be
obligated.
trusted anymore. You can't be
Right.
trusted anymore.
So at what point, this is where you got to draw the line in the sand. If you're showing a recurrence of a certain behavior that's not healthy for the relationship.
Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
okay. Oh,
That's
go
your
ahead,
brother.
Jasir.
Just here.
Thing for me is that people don't make a contract for themselves before they make a contract with somebody else. If I have a contract for myself and if I get with somebody and they violate that contract, and a part of my contract is that if my wife or my spouse cheats on me, then that's it. That's enough for me to go. Because at the end of the day, my contract with me is between me and my creator, wherever we call it. Now, if I bring somebody else and the creator brings somebody else into that agreement and we both understand that, that depends on if I told them or disclosed that information to them about it. And if they do it, again, like I said previously, my job is to figure out my lesson. Relationships to me are lessons to people. That's your mirror. Somebody's showing up to show you something. And if that person showed up and they cheated, the reason is why, because they probably cheated for something that had nothing to do with you. It was something in their spirit that came to you or came to them before, way before you came into the picture. The question is, why did you do that? And once I identify that, and if you can let me know that you know that that's a problem and you're willing to fix it as a husband, my job is to help you. That's what we got into this for. But if you can't identify that, my lesson is learned and it's time for me to go. That is for you to fix. That's between you and your God and your creator to figure out. That is not my job as a man to help you to figure out what your agreement is with your God.
Got so much question for you, Jasir, but I gotta move on. I'm gonna come back around. I got so many questions.
All
Um,
right.
Reverend, you wanted to respond to that as well?
But anytime somebody makes a contract, um, you are obligated to follow through with that contract. And if you don't follow through with that contract, there's penalties that you're going to have to pay for it, or you're going to have to renegotiate a new contract. But I must say again, the contracts that you find yourself, particularly Black people in this country, we're pushed into corners to make contracts of all sorts all the time. And there's all kinds of things surrounding those contracts that we do not really understand.
That's right.
There's things, there's positions that we get pushed into. There are conditions that get put upon us. There are a whole bunch of different things, like my aunt who got married when she was 13 because she wanted to get the hell out of Decatur, Mississippi. All right. She got married. She got a special, thing from a mother and father to go and to leave and get married when she was 13 years old. She was not old enough. She was not mature enough to do that. But she was pushed into it because she was a very smart young lady and she didn't see any way out of being there in Decatur, Mississippi, watching her grandfather, who's 75 years old, say, "Sir," to a 25-year-old white police officer and being called boy. She wanted out. So there's always things surrounding us, you know. Let's say one thing real quick about Brother Levon X, right? My man, the nation does an extraordinary job of handling a lot of this type of stuff. And the nation puts you in I know a lot of brothers from the nation who I really, really admire because they break you out of that paradigm that we're talking about. The paradigm that that I just described. They give you new contracts. They give you new ways of negotiating. We all need, as group, particularly African people descended from slavery, we all need to get a little bit of what the nation doles out. We all need that. Everybody needs that. That's the reason why, his word is very, very, very strong. Very strong.
It's be to Allah.
Can I comment on that real quick?
Please.
Because I'm burning up over here. I was married for 15 years.
Yes, sir.
And divorced. And when I went into my contract of marriage, I went off of what I learned from what everybody else said it was supposed to be, how it was supposed to be done. One of my mantras is life learns you and you are taught along the way. And when the problems in my marriage started, it was nobody that came and said, "Hey, look out for this, look out for that." I just completed a rites of passage in October last year. And it was one of the best things I've ever done in my life. It was one of the best things I ever done in my life because one of the things that it exposed to me is that we have to unlearn the myths and the lies that we have been told. Yes, and when your spirit is ready and you make that commitment, the universe is going to give you and send all the information and the people with the knowledge towards you. You just have to be willing to unearth and dig up all that fallacy and those allegories that you've been taught and obtain this truth, this meat that you need to go on in this next course. So it's not a thing about what would stop what type of infidelity would cause you to end. Like brother just said, my thing has been for the last like 3 or 4 years is look into yourself and be real with yourself and move in that, be that example, be that which you want to see. So I can also give a shout out to the Nation of Islam. I can also give a shout out to More Science Temple of America. I can also give shouts out to the Pan-Africanism, the Black nationalists, the conscious community. And then you have some good Christians out there that are being true to themselves and being this example.
Yes, sir.
Very true.
Good teaching.
Yes,
you know what I'm saying? But the thing is, what cuts it off is when you say, "I'm not going to do it no more," and then you continue to be that which you say you're not going to be. The seed, the cord hasn't been cut. Mm-hmm. So at that point, you are bringing death to our relationship. You bringing death to my psyche. You bringing death to my heart. You bringing death to my growth. If I got to spend a whole lot of time worrying about what you're doing, I can't focus on what I need to do. Yeah. And I can't focus on being who I need to be. So when you start taking me away from me because I'm focusing a whole lot on you, that's when it's time for me to back up.
Got it.
Yes, sir.
Just to clarify something, he just thank you for that, brother, because that was exactly what I was about to say. Because for me in my walk, and I want to give peace to the nation and everybody else, but I walk with Ifa. And my walk with Ifa lets me know what I am supposed to be doing. I had a draining situation like that. And when you're in a draining situation in a relationship, it takes away from what you need to do for yourself. I have my own destiny. And if I'm married to my woman, she has her own destiny. But the minute your destiny becomes a leech to mine, I can't do that. Because I will never reach where I need to go for myself. I came in this world to do something that's for me to do. We happen to cross paths, maybe to create children, to bring other ancestors back to the planet, whatever our agreement was in heaven before we got here. But I have my own pathway to walk. And if you coming in here and you are draining me every day, I'm stressed out, I'm getting sick, hair falling out because I'm worried about what you're doing. No. And you can't even identify what's the problem was making you want to do such a thing, because if you cheated, let's be real, you already didn't check out and broke the contract. Something has made you say this is over with, because if I get caught, you know it's over. If I go rob the store, I know it's 25 to life. So if I rob the store, I made that choice to go do it. That's common sense, right? So if you went out and cheated, you know common sensely that this man is not going to want you potentially, but you chose to do it. The contract is broke. So I'm supposed to sit here and stress my life out because you don't want to fix you? No, I got to be free. I have a destiny to take care of. And if you're impeding that, I got to say, I should say, I'm out.
I feel like just say your next marriage, you make sure you put down your vows, sir. Okay, please. Because when you're speaking up, Mike, the question that keeps coming up to me is like the way that people perceive marriage, right? It's more so like till death do us part.
Yeah.
Are we Are we delusional in that?
Absolutely.
Brother Vaughn, go ahead.
And I'm married, so I can speak on it.
Yeah.
When you go into a marriage, right, we go through something called a courtship, meaning that you ask those hard questions at the beginning. You know, it's one thing that you admire how beautiful she is and stuff of that nature, and vice versa, you know, but you put everything on the table so you know what you're going into. A lot of times we go into things blindly without proper understanding. And I do believe that a lot of times we go into relationships, the word I does not exist. You can't say I. Sometimes you got to sacrifice for the greater good. If my wife is interested in the business she's doing in, okay, sometimes I will fall back on what I'm doing to some degree so I can support her. And then vice versa, when I'm thriving to what I'm trying to do, she comes in and she supports. So that's where the team comes in. So nobody's mentioning team. What does a team look like? You know, somebody has to play their role of saying for the whole thing to function. Somebody has to fall back. It doesn't make you weak or take anything away from you. But sometimes when somebody's trying to accomplish a goal or somebody's trying to take the lead that has a better idea. For example, in most relationships, they say the man's supposed to lead, right? But it doesn't make him better than his wife. They're still equal. But in the same token, when she has a suggestion that's better than mine, for example, you know what I'm saying? My intelligence tells me she's thinking about the whole. It doesn't take anything away from me. So I think that when we walk into a relationship and we're talking about marriage, see, it's different with boyfriend and girlfriend because in scripture it says he finds a wife. It doesn't say girlfriend. There's no commitment in that. So that means that when somebody thinks psychologically, hey, I'm not married, I can do what I want to do, there's really no commitment. But when she made that point, I'm gonna get to that point, sister.
Okay.
Because we're talking from a man's perspective.
I got you. Go ahead.
Okay.
I just have a question.
So, yes, ma'am. So when a man has to sit there and say that I'm going to be committed, I'm saying when you tell a man that, okay, he's gonna think about all kind of things, what I'm going to give up. If he's in the world, he's gonna think, wow, I'm about to give up all this right here to be with one woman. Some men can't fathom that because we spoke earlier about the appetite. His appetite has been so wild that he can't see himself being with a woman for 20, 30, 50, or a lifetime. You know what I'm saying? And then when a woman coming up, only she sees her mother have a revolving door, I'm saying, well, her commitments, what is she learning? You see what I'm saying? So all I'm saying is when you go into a relationship or a marriage, what have you, We got to think more or less as we, not I, when we do a commitment. And I think that marriage is ordained by God. And they're saying that's been going on since the beginning. And I believe, I'm saying when you talk about boyfriend and girlfriend, and you say that there's no contract with that. Because by law, you're not bound by nothing. And that's where that freedom comes in at, where you have your options. I'm saying you start thinking along that line. That's a wicked way of thinking. Because most of us, and I've been in there before, if you have a girlfriend, you say, okay, I'm not married, so I'm not really tied down. But when you're married, it's a whole different ball game, as the brother can probably contest to it, because now you're legally responsible for that woman. You're legally responsible for those children. You know what I'm saying? You have to commit to what you say you're doing now. But as long as there's no commitment or nothing bonding you to that person, then you're free to do whatever you want psychologically or anything else. And we can see that to today. Somebody can walk out the door, no problem. Guess what? You can't go after that person legally because you never had that commitment or that bond and contract to that person. So just my take on that.
Anybody want to respond to that or speak to what we're talking about right now?
I agree with Brother Vaughn on knowing who you are and being able to step back and allow the teamwork to prevail. You know, I am a fan of Akoma Day. I am a fan of I have a book called Community of Self, and I would recommend, you know, that everybody picks this book up, and it teaches you how to deal with those characteristics of your mind and how it reveals itself in life. Um, Once again, rites of passage. Our people have been through so many rites of passages, and they don't understand that they have been through them. So when it comes to our relationships, if you know who you are and you are truly cultivating the person that you are, then you will not allow yourself to fall into that trap of insecurity when it comes to your mate being a little bit stronger in the area than you are. Like you said, you know, it's a team. I'm also a student of EFA. So EFA teaches me certain things and I have to move accordingly according to what EFA tells me. But at the same time, before I even get into the relationship, EFA had already said that myself and my queen had to be a part of EFA.
Equally yoked. Yes, sir.
Okay. So it's just like if we are, we have to be thinking the same way, not identical on all things, but if you have that same mindset, then you can come and we can sit down and we can talk about it beforehand, during, and afterwards. Beforehand, during, and afterwards. I don't like to repeat things because I come from an era of when I say something once, that's what I mean, that's what I'm gonna do. That's that. Don't ask me no more.
Yes, sir.
But what I've been learning over the last 5 years is that we have to keep revisiting these conversations. We have to keep doing these pressure checks to make sure that we are still on the same page. You see what I'm saying? Because anything can happen, no matter what it is that you say you believe or whatever your spirituality is, anything can happen. And if you're not paying attention, when I was married the first time, I pulled back on something and I said, you know, you remember the story of Adam and Eve, the story that they told us of Adam and Eve, and how Eve was beguiled first and then she came to Adam and beguiled him, right? But I was taught from a train of thought of if he was paying attention to what was going on in this garden, when she came to him and told him that the serpent spoke to her, he would have went and killed the serpent off the top because he already knows that the serpent wasn't supposed to speak.
He'd have handled business, right, brother?
He wasn't even supposed to be able to speak. So as soon as she came and said he beguiled me, and he gave me this fruit. If Adam would have been on his thing, he would have went and said, "Where's the serpent?" And he would have chopped his head off right then and there. Now we can. That's a whole nother story. I can really go deeper to a lot of things. But for me, like he said, as a man, we are taught that we are supposed to be the protectors, the providers, this, that, and the other. Also, the flip side of that, we are taught you get the money, you get the car, you get the girl. If you don't have the money, you don't get the car, you don't get the girl. Okay, so we, the brothers that are standing up today saying, I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm going to take it day by day and I'm going to give myself something to replace that addiction because it is, I tell my two sons, sex is the worst addiction that you can ever fall into. It's worse than drugs. It's worse than money. I said, if you start chasing that, you're going to be chasing it for the rest of your life. You'll be chasing it for the rest of your life. So you have to put something else in your heart and in your mind to start dealing with that urge to go out and continue to do that. And I'm telling you from personal experience, you got to put something else in here and you got to be willing to accept what it is that you're getting. If it's true, then you got to bite that bitter fruit and go ahead and suck it up.
Okay, Ashe. I want to mention, I want to speak on behalf of a lot of women out there who are in pain as it relates to being in relationships with Black men. I see it all the time, all the time, and they express it in different ways, and it becomes, I'm seeing now, it's like the women, they come from a place of pain, so they hurt and they speak and they lash out from that emotion, and the fellas return them lashes because of the I guess the bravado or whatever. They don't want to hear nothing that goes anti their praise and applaud when it comes to them. What do we give these sisters out here that say, I'm tired, I'm just sick and I'm tired of being cheated on, I'm tired of giving my all in a relationship and not getting back what I put in. I'm tired of bringing up the issues and my stresses and being shut down, or having to hold all the weight of the children are involved, and I got to do 90% of everything. I'm tired, I'm frustrated. What do we give these sisters out here that are in that particular mode in this time and space?
Well, I think the first thing that you give them, as a man, as a creative man, what I'm doing, I'm reinstating the hopeful, loving environment that we used to have within just our culture, just in our entertainment. Most of the strong male voices that women hear these days, these are the strong male voices that you hear on the radio or you watch TV or whatever. Those strong male voices are not strong male voices that are saying anything good or loving to women. There used to be a time when you used to have something on the radio called The Quiet Storm. Y'all remember The Quiet Storm?
Yes, sir.
Do y'all remember what the men's voices sounded like when they was, do you remember how they used to speak? How they used to talk? You remember Don Cornelius, how he used to speak, how he used to talk? You remember Barry White, how he used to speak, how he used to talk? You remember Teddy Pendergrass, how he used to speak, how he used to talk? These men were stand-ins for the good men who were not there yet. They were stand-ins for the guys who were not quite had reached to our queen yet, right? They gave women hope before we got to them. And it made their hearts open for the time when we would come to them, right? Because when they would listen to something, when they would imbibe something in terms of the entertainment and the media and all that stuff like that, it was men who made it their business to talk sweet to them, to talk nice to them. Regardless of how the man really was doing in real life. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about an emotional environment that our people used to have. All right. You have to have that with women. All right. Women have to feel safe before anything else going on. Women must feel safe. And that's part of what, when you said that you got to kill the snake, you got to kill the snake, brother. See, I'm down with that. And killing the snake, part of this is we have to kill this environment that makes it toxic for women while they're even waiting for a good man. While they're even waiting for a good man, there's a toxic environment that they have to be involved in. So what am I saying? We have to check these young boys who make it their business to do nothing but denigrate women and their records and the way that they act and how they put out these media representations and all that. We have to be men and not allow that. And they sort of, kind of gloss it over because we just being players like y'all was players. No. You're not players like we was players. When we was players, we at least had the good sense to talk sweet to a lady. Now, we might not have had good intentions, but we at least knew that we have to talk sweet to ladies and give that type of environment. It's a savage environment out here for the sisters. I'm talking about the mental environment that surrounds the sisters out here in the world. It's a savage environment. What's the name? Rick Ross? Rick Ross's voice. Rick Ross could be Barry White's son, but he's saying exactly the opposite of what Barry White used to say to women. This is savagery. And so women have this going on all around them. So they're not even in a mental condition now. And so what it does, it amplifies. Under these circumstances, if a man does something wrong, it's amplified. Under these circumstances, if a man does something right, it's minimized. Why? Because all these other people out here doing all this stuff and saying all this stuff, and it's just a toxic environment. And I'm doing something about that.
I got something.
Yes, sir.
Since she brought up the Quiet Storm, y'all remember this song? Tell me what I gotta do to get to your heart.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me where I gotta go to be with you. Shabba-doo-ba-doo. Tell me what I gotta say to speak to your heart. Tell me what I need to know tonight.
That's it.
So everything will be all right.
That's it, brother. That's
okay.
it. That's it.
So now,
And see, that make me feel good. So I
all right.
See, that's what I'm saying.
We get ready.
That's what I'm saying.
I'm getting ready to go a little bit deeper. The agenda of racism, white supremacy has gotten us so out of tune with what our assignments are.
Yes, sir.
Okay. What our assignments are. So I just found out that each one of us, we are responsible for 7 generations of work. 3 behind and 4 in front, and I'm included in the 4th generation. The work that my ancestors did,
yep.
And then the work that my grandchildren and their children are supposed to do. But we are so far removed that we don't even understand what is going on, and we're not able to see it. So once we find out who we are and what we're going to be doing, we have to be real about it. Because like for me, I told my son that I would never allow him to see me behind bars.
Right.
What happened? I get locked up. My father did 27 years of my life. Okay. People all around me dying, getting shot, wheelchairs, things of that nature. But like I said, there were good men there. They were trying to be honest and righteous and things of that nature. But me and Al-Kamal and Jeannie was at the Everlasting Life talking, and I just said, people going to be who they are and people going to do what they want to do. What I have to do is not put so much energy into being judgmental about what they're doing and make sure that I am doing what I'm supposed to do for me and my house. Me and my house, and then those like-minded houses that are connected to me, then we can continue to expand and raise each other children and things of that nature. You know, we call each other babbas and mamas for a reason, because we are mamas and fathers to all children, whether we birth them or not. So if we truly understand that and believe that and we operate from that, we got to do it one one moment at a time, one day at a time, and we got to continue to work together and continue to do podcasts and real life end times things together, so people can see this community, this village, this nation thing. We got a long fight to go. It's not going to happen overnight. And for my sisters, the only thing I can say to my sisters is this: be true to who you are and what you say you're going to be, and stand fast and allow the universe to bring you your mate, because you're going to be able, it's like they used to say, they always give you the signs, you always see the signs, but we just ignore them. So I'll say that to my sisters and my brothers: get in tune with who you are. That's why I'm promoting a Coma Day once again. That book is about relationships, but the main relationship that it's talking about is the one with yourself. Before you can be anything with anybody else, you got to start peeling back those layers of the lies that you've been taught to tell yourself, and you got to be honest with yourself. So when you go, as you grow and you go into these relationships, you can sit back, and when your partner says to you, well, why is this, why you do this, you can truly say, well, listen here, baby, this is what's going on with me. This is how I was raised. Uh, I'm working at it, and I'm not trying to be disrespectful about it, but this is what's going on, and I'm willing to put that all on the. I'm willing to put that down and work with you if you work with me. You know what I'm saying? But that's what we got to do. We got to start being real with ourselves, because our children, they are the ones that's going to suffer, and our families are the ones that's going to suffer.
I just want to share, because that's something that we get asked a lot in the community in reference to the hurt of our sisters. And one thing I can share with the sisters is we're taught that a woman should realize that she is a responsibility. And once you realize that you're a responsibility, meaning that your heart is something that shouldn't be played with. Um, a woman's womb should never be a man's playground, as the minister say, or be a doormat for any man to walk over you. I know sometimes loneliness can allow us to make poor decisions, just to say I have a man. But the brothers made a point about music and the quiet storm, and what does that portray? Now, a lot of music that men are talking about is making love, saying being intimate. But I want to go to a song where Babyface was talking about actually putting work in. I'm saying, I'll cook your dinner as soon as you get home from work. I'm saying, now a lot of brothers had a problem with that, because it makes them be committed to actually do something outside of the bedroom. You know what I'm saying? I use that for example. And once you take away the sex, now the man has to earn your heart. Before the slow jam comes on, before I make love to you, okay, brother, do you qualify what you say that you want? I'm saying, because a woman is heaven. And if a woman knows that she is heaven for a man, you don't walk into heaven automatically. It doesn't work like that. You have to earn your way by what you do, what you confess. You see what I'm saying? It's any man, and I'm not disrespecting my brothers, any man can sound good. And say, oh, he sound good, girl. I'm saying he look good. But sometimes what Mr. Wrong don't look like could be Mr. Right for you. What is that man's purposes? That man could treat you the best in the world. He may not look like your ideal man, but is he respectful? Is he telling you, hey, this is my purpose? I'm saying sometimes you ask a man what his purpose, it can save a lot of that hurt. Ask those questions. Don't be so quick to fall in love because he look good and he sound good. Does he qualify for your heart? And a lot of times, and I'm keep reiterating this, marriage, this is what God ordained. You know, we can go dance around it all we want to, but marriage, if you tell a brother, hey, listen, there's no sleepovers, there's no sex, there's no touching, there's no intimacy at any kind, we can build on getting to know each other on a slow pace, because that's a slow momentum that allows you to qualify for what you want. And 9 times out of 10, if a man wants you, he's quick to want to take you off the market ASAP. He'll go with that. He said, okay, fine. If this sister wants me to take the time for me to prove that I'm really into her, I'm gonna do these steps to show her that I'm really willing to build with her. That means that I gotta make sure I have a home once I qualify for this woman. I would say, if she has children, am I ready to be a father to those children? So all these questions that that before we get into a relationship, we should be asking these questions. But a lot of times we just jump into it and cross our fingers and hope that it works out. And then we get disappointed at the end when we say, I've been hurt. And as the brother said, sometimes those signs have already been there before you even started, but you never asked the questions. You just quick to say, I got a man, somebody to warm my bed. But you got a fool warming your bed that can't do anything for you but give you heartache. Now you're sitting down, you got 3 children and 1 child laying next to you that you want to call your man. Now you want him gone. But once again, to help protect your heart, do what God subscribed for you. I'm saying, protect your womb, protect your heart. I'm saying, tell that brother before you do anything, those things are not happening before we get into it. And you've realized, honestly, that a man is not going to waste his time if his agenda is sex. If this whole thing about you is just to be intimate with you, and you tell him, no, I'm looking for a commitment, you save so much heartache. No matter what it looks like, no how much money he got, you save so much heartache. Look how many people right now are getting divorced who are rich. Kanye West, they got all the money in the world, but why are they not together? Jennifer Lopez just talking about she getting a divorce. They got all the resources there, but what was missing in the beginning to why they can't stay together? You see what I'm saying? That foundation is everything into why. The question always got to be, why do you want a man? Same thing with a brother. Why do you want a woman? And sometimes we test brothers like that. You know, they sound good on the surface, but when we say, hey, brother, come out in the community with us to help protect these sisters, 9 times out of 10, the brothers don't show, because now it's required him to commit to what he is saying. And a lot of times when you put a action to an individual, you definitely see what he or she is made out of. But to help protect the sister's heart, sisters, I'm telling you, it does work, because we see it before our eyes with the Honorable Elijah Muhammad has put before us. A courtship. Take that brother to court to see if he qualifies for your heart. Don't give your heaven to anybody just because you got an itch or you're lonely. Don't do that. Protect your heart by all means. In the long run, as the brother said, the universe is going to open up, because now you're in obedience to bring in what you're praying for. I said, once you're obedient to the law, I said, now you're in divine realm now to get what you're asking for and you're praying for. But if you go into this whole thing into he when he was on the phone with you, the first thing that comes out of his mouth is what you wearing, or just having Netflix night. All those key words will let you know he's not interested in knowing you, because he's not telling you how's your day, what you want to build on, what's on your mind. Because if he learned interested to know who you are as a person in the beginning, when you get into a marriage, all that physical stuff goes. The sex, that goes. That's only a moment. Now, what do you have after that? Brothers can bear witness to that. What do you have after that? If you never built on conversation, you never built on a foundation outside of lust. This is what we talk about, infidelity, that appetite. Because once he gets bored with you now you put him a little weight now. You had them babies now your body's out of proportion. You see what I'm saying? He don't see you because he should be seeing you as value, because you gave birth. You almost went to death for him. So he should see value in you at all given times. But you got to see value for yourself first before you worry about why men this, why men that. Once again, unless a man is taking it from you, no man has the right to take anything from you that you're not willing to give. And that's accountability on the part of the sister as far as her protecting the heart. Take your time, be patient with the process, and then let that man earn what you want. Even if you got a man living with you who has no commitment, ask him a question. How come you never married me? How come you put a ring on my finger? And if he tells you it's just a piece of paper, guess what? Everything he does in his life requires a contract. Everything. When he see a car he wants, what's he do? He makes sure he qualifies for that car. He makes sure he can pay the payments. He has to sign a contract saying that, hey, I got to bring insurance on it. Now, if he can commit to a car and you're the best thing that God created, why can't he commit with you by putting it on paper? Everything he does in life is a contract. So don't let him tell you that it's just a piece of paper or it's a white man thing. No, it's been going on since the beginning of time. When that father says, okay, for my daughter, depending on if you're in the tribe, okay, it's require you a cow, a goat. It's gonna require you something. You just gotta come up here and take my daughter unless you earn it. If you can't afford a goat or milk, meaning that you can't provide for my daughter, you have to see me. And men can see through certain nonsense a lot quicker than a woman. So we're telling you
Look you right in your eyes.
we're telling you the game. Don't listen to your sister. Listen to your sister. I'm fine with that, but listen to the game. The brothers that's telling you things, you should be taking notes. Okay, the brothers are telling us what the brothers think. They're telling what we're telling you what we think. But if you go against the grain of that, and you're not doing what God says to do first, protect. I'm repeating this. Protect your heart. Protect your womb. Knowing that this man qualified to be the father of my children if I go to lay in his deathbed to give birth to a God. What am I serving here? Can he maintain me? If he can't do those things on your checklist, then he's not ready for you. But if you make, and I'm gonna say this last part, a lot of times we're in a society where women feel that I'm making money now. He don't really have to work that hard. I can take care of everything. No, now your order of operations is wrong. Because no man should feel comfortable. I can speak for myself. I wouldn't feel comfortable. I don't care what woman makes. I got to make sure I can maintain. For us as a man, I got to feel comfortable. I got my own money. I got to feel comfortable that I provide this house. I can't walk into somebody else's home because I didn't create that. You know what I'm saying? And this is where we got to start creating the standards. What are you walking into? Now, if a man does walk into a woman's house, he should say, you know what? How much is the mortgage? I got it. How much did you put down? You put 10,000, here's the 10,000. I got it from this point on. He's taking responsibility because if he wants her to be able to cook, clean, you know what I'm saying, or anything else, he has to free her load from being out in the world. He goes out into the world to fight those battles. You know what I'm saying, to make sure that his queen is at home when he gets there. So we got orders of operations all wrong in the society. And this is why we notice that the family structure, we can see it is the way it is. Children all over the place. You know what I'm saying? There's no men in the community because they don't know how to be men, or there's nothing challenging them to be men. You see what I'm saying? So we go back to the foundation of making the family the cornerstones of our community. Sister, you gotta worry about, trying to find a good man, because the men that's doing the work, that's the men that's probably what you could catch your eye on. There's plenty of good men out there. So
Yeah.
Allahu Akbar.
Right.
Allahu Akbar.
Yes, sir.
You said something, Brother Vaughn, that I wanted to piggyback and come back on.
No
You
pigs,
said-
no pigs. Now, just joking.
Reggie back.
Don't do no forks now. It's a little humor.
You said something along the lines of when a woman is doing her work and walking in her divinity, then she's she's putting herself in a position to be able to find a proper mate. And I know you didn't say that verbatim, but
I got you. Yes, sister.
yeah, in a roundabout way. And so I want to dig a little bit more deep into that, because Gregory brought up a point early on that when he mentioned that there are more men in the society, Black men, there are more Black women, in the society than there are Black men. So the ratio, if we can all agree to that, then the ratio is off. And so if that's the case, then are we suggesting that, if women just do all the necessary things that they should do within the universal law, within the divine laws of natural order, that they will then set themselves in a position to be able to find a proper mate?
I'm going by, just to answer your question, and I'm gonna go to a surah in reference to answer your question, dear sister. And the surah in the Quran, surah 33:35, it says, surely a Muslim man and Muslim woman, believing men, believing women, devout men and devout women, truthful men and truthful women, patient men and patient women, humble men, humble women, and the men who give their charity, and the women who give charity, and the men who fast, and the women who fast, and the men who guard their private parts against evil acts, and the women and men who guard theirs, and the women who remember Allah, God, and the women who remember Him. For them, Allah is prepared forgiveness, and great reward. So I say that to say is being equally yoked into what you're walking into, the divinity. I'm saying now these laws are the same thing you can find in the 42 books of Matt. You can find it in many cultures as far as those elements are there. So as far as being divinity, I'm saying I know some people talk about, well, why not marry more than one woman? Most men can't handle one woman anyway. They're saying to have 3, 4 wives. It takes a certain kind of man to be able to have that. So a lot of men, if you're thinking about, well, in the African culture, we have more than one wife, but see, you don't qualify because number one, we become savages now. We're not the same men as it was back then when a man was responsible. He had land, he can maintain, he can feed, and he's in a spiritual place where he can tap into each and every
That's
one of
right.
those wives. Now
That's
that
right.
you can't put a savage man in a responsibility of God's greatest creation. You see what I'm saying? He doesn't qualify for that. Most men can't qualify for that. You see what I'm saying? Because you're feeling, unless you are spiritually in tune, I'm saying to be able to tap into her godness, no, you don't qualify that. The Quran tells you that having one would be the best thing for you. You see what I'm saying? So what do we qualify ourselves for? And this is where we got to get back to knowledge of self, who we are as a people. You see what I'm saying? So for that man to qualify in your divinity, as you say, Al-Kamar, he has to be in divinity himself. That's why I gave you that sword. If he's not in divinity himself, then he has no business because you are the second self of God. You are the second self of God. So if you know that about yourself, any man living a savage life does not qualify for you at any time. So yes, the pickings may be slim, but when you do get that one man to commit for you because you are patient, because you're obedient, because you have to go through certain trials in your development yourself as a woman to get yourself in a place to qualify for the man that you say you're looking for. So just because you pray for a man and then a certain man comes, you got to qualify for that type of man because he is requiring something now. So if you're requiring a certain kind of man to come in your life and you got these worldly views thinking that, well, all I got to do is put it on him, guess what? That man is like crazy because guess what? Sex does not stimulate certain kind of men. You see what I'm saying? It has nothing to do with homosexuality. It means that he's on a higher plane. Because when we fast in Ramadan, we fast from food. Now, if you can subtract food from your womb, your stomach, your core, the thing that gives you life. You know what I'm saying? There's no sex, there's no water. You sustain yourself. It means you're training yourself to submit to a higher power than those lower desires. This is why, as a practicing Muslim, I would say anybody can be a practicing Muslim, but if you practice submitting to a higher power than the flesh, you know what I'm saying, then when you come across somebody, you see what I'm saying, that's worthy of your heart and of your womb, then guess what? That is one of the best protections you could ever have. I'm saying, but once again, a woman has to be in a place of her own divinity and understand her nature now. I'm saying because just the black man is messed up, and so is the black woman. And that's why you can look outside. Half the women walk around half naked because they feel, well, I can walk around any kind of way I want to. But guess what? She still goes home once. She can put that front when she wants to. But guess what she's inviting? When you put flesh before a wolf, I'm saying, what you gonna get? By his nature. By his nature. He's gonna right. Oh, he sees in his mind, he remembers that, wow, I remember what she looked like. Her backside was nice. So he gonna say what he want to say, like the brother said, he gonna sound good, he gonna talk the right words because in his mind, I'm gonna be the best salesman to get what I want. Them breasts look nice. I know she got it going on because guess what? Now you're smiling. You say, oh yeah, I got it now. I ain't got to work that hard. All I got to do is throw on some charm, continue to smell good, dress good. But behind closed doors, he ain't worth a damn. But yet you're eating up because you're caught into the illusion. I'm saying because you're not looking at it in divinity. You didn't bring God into the equation. You pray for a good man, but you're not bringing God into the conversation when you're looking for what you're asking for God to bring you. So that's my response to that.
Okay.
Look, I have something to add to that. Look,
I have a question.
after the Million Man March, I thought
Hold
it
up
was
1
gonna be
minute.
a
Gregory, can you just hold 1 minute, please?
Okay.
Because I've been trying to get a word in.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
I have, and I have.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
just before I miss, because it still has to do with what Yvonne spoke to. I at least when Alkama asked the question, the way I heard it is, if there are 10 women and only 4 men who go around, we are leaving 6 women without access to a man. So is it misleading to tell those 6 women to just continue to work on yourself and connect and the universe, unless God is creating man from the dust of the earth like he did? Where are those 6 men coming from? So when she said that, that's where my mind went.
Right.
Is it misleading to continue to say that if, like Gregory said, and we no one has disagreed to it, is if we are agreeing that there is a shortage, that we do outnumber the men? Alkema, you could correct me if I'm wrong. What I'm
Yeah,
hearing
that's
her
spot
ask
on.
is it misleading to tell women who may never have a man because of the shortage, not because of anything wrong that they're doing? Is it misleading to continue to tell those women to just hold on tight and hold on to God's unchanging hand? Or should we be looking in to
Alternative.
alternatives? Thank you.
So what do you mean by alternative?
Come
Just to
on,
be
my
clear.
Claire.
Yes.
No, but no, I'm
Yes.
asking you. See, the question is, you said,
Sorry.
what's the alternative?
No, I don't know. So that's what I'm saying. If God is not going to, the creator is not going to go ahead and make 6 men from the dust of the earth, right? And from stardust and from whatever else man is made from, right? If that's not happening today, why, where are we getting those 6 men from? And if we can't produce those 6 men for those 6 women who are lacking simply because of the shortage of men, is it misleading to continue to tell the sisters that they just need to upgrade, level up, tap into their divinity, when we know good and darn well, even if they do that, there still aren't going to be 6 men for them? That's what I'm hearing Alkema asking. And I'm
Yes,
sorry
ma'am.
if I'm getting a little passionate about
That's
it.
fine.
Yeah, so that's what I wanted to speak to before Gregory came in.
Yes,
Is
ma'am.
it misleading to continue to tell the sisters that, or should they be praying that God just go ahead and create like he did, like they say he did Adam? What we doing?
But you gave a number, sister. I'm sorry, brothers. You gave a number, right? Right, between 6 to 5. But once again, we don't have 100% actual facts of what the ratio may be off it is being off with. You see what I'm saying? Because the universe don't put, or the earth don't put anything out there that's not meant to be here. So certain ratios and certain numbers are divinely here for a reason. You see what I'm saying? So we got to look at it as, okay, now for any sister here, I know there's a lot of brothers that are single. There's a lot of women I know that are single with all those people connecting. You know what I'm saying? So it's hard to say what those racial numbers to be off. It could be off by 2. It could be off by 3. We don't know the actual numbers.
Example,
Right.
yeah.
I don't understand what your example is, but that example what you gave could give somebody the false notion like, hey man, I can't win, especially if a woman has so low self-esteem and she feel that I'm in part of that 6 or that number that can't get a man for whatever reason. So I do believe that we got to have actual facts on that ratio, because mathematics is dealing with actual facts. You know what I'm saying? And
There's
as far
a
as
shortage of black men, Brother Vaughn.
ma'am,
There is a shortage, like shortage in the sense that we outnumber black men. Like,
Yep.
and there are other factors that contribute to that.
yes, ma'am. So that's why I want to ask.
So I'm talking specifically about sisters that only want, like myself, like Alkema, like our focus in no other man. We want black men.
Right.
Period.
Yes, ma'am. And there's a lot of
that are holding on right now, because we have a whole other movement go. And I really want to bring this up because there's a whole other movement going on right now that's encouraging the sisters to look outside because of exactly what we're trying to discuss here right now.
okay.
You see
So,
what I'm
I mean,
saying? So
yes,
that's why
ma'am.
I brought it to the table.
Yes, ma'am. But yeah, look at the key words you just said, beloved.
Okay.
What are they telling us? I'm saying, for our sisters, a lot of times when I'm around, like I said, I used to be in the military, right? I don't hear other women speaking like that of being a shortage of men. I'm saying, who's telling sisters there's not enough black men out there? I'm saying, that you got to think about the source that we're getting it from, because a lot of women that I come across of different cultures, I don't hear it. I'm not saying it don't exist, but who's telling sisters are short of black men? Why is there stereotype that black men are either gay or in jail? Who created that paradigm? I know a lot of good brothers who are doing well for themselves, who aren't dogs, who aren't gay, who never been in jail, never been in arrested. But once again, look what the world's putting before us on television. You see what I'm saying? Once upon a time, Cliff Huxtable was an ideal man. He had a degree, he was a doctor, he took care of his family, he treated his woman like an equal. Now we got women, we got black men wearing dresses on television. You know what I'm saying? So you don't see the strong black man that's possible. You know what I'm saying? They tell the black women that all the black men in jail. That is not true. All the black men are not in jail.
In all due respect, brother, there are, definitely cases that we can point to that prove that there are a large percentage of black, well, over 1 million actually black brothers in jail. I mean, this is in record. I talk to a lot of sisters that work down at the courthouse and say that's all they see is black.
Right, but we're talking about systematic racism, sister. That's what I'm saying. That's portraying these narratives. I'm not saying that certain things don't exist, and no, I'm not saying brothers don't have fault. But I'm saying that who's perpetrating this mindset? Because I know that sometimes I hear you sisters talk about it. Who's perpetuating these mindsets that keep us divided? That's keeping us divided in all these things that we're talking about. You know what I'm saying? We're not talking, there's plenty of examples of successful marriages, successful black men seeking one another. But that's not what's being shown to the world. What's shown to the world is the disparity. You know what I'm saying? Like Sister Kamar just said that the sister said nothing but black men down there. So you take that perception, that small group of numbers right there represents the body. You know what I'm saying? And that's not true. And I'm speaking from a man who's been around a lot of good brothers, I'm saying, in the millions. I've been around them, I'm saying, who are sincere about protecting the black woman. You see how I am with y'all when we out doing things, how I am with you two. You see what I'm saying? So a lot of brothers like that. I never crossed that line with either one of you that one time. You see what I'm saying? Because I know what's out there, but there's a lot of brothers who think the same way. So we got to be mindful of where we get our source of information as far as why is that being read so much in our community, especially to our sisters. It was saying where we get this feminist movement now. And once upon a time, it was a brother and sisterhood. Now you got this feminine movement coming in now where they tell you, you don't need a man. You be independent. We can't even open the door for women no more because she said, I got it. I want nobody to do nothing for me. That's how crazy we gotten now. So yes, man, that's my response to your answer. I'm sorry, brothers.
No, you're fine. I'm gonna go ahead and let Gregory speak. That's okay.
Well, you can easily
wrap up in a little. Go ahead.
You can easily take a look at the reality of these things from the historical perspective and from the sociological perspective, right? From the historical perspective, almost every single one of what we call the uprisings that people engaged in, we're talking about black people uprising against racism, against white people. These were occasions where it was 80% men. You had men that ran away from the plantation. Most of the time the women had babies, so they couldn't go with them. You had men who went and, like the Black Seminoles, all of these things, they always had woman shortages in all of this because the women were not in the place to do this. In terms of the South, where my uncles were subjected to the chain gangs, they didn't want black women on the chain gangs. Chain gangs they subjected you to the type of labor that women were not good for. It was men that they would come in and just scoop you up and put you on the chain gang, accuse you of vagrancy and all these things. You don't have to do a real deep dive sociological study to find out that if the wider oppressive society is attacking your men and doing a very good job of it, there's going to be less men. And there's going to be less men that are going to be available to you as a result of all of this. Now, what this all boils down to is one thing, right? And after World War II, most of the men, I would say about 45% of the men were left in Europe. The rest of them were dead. There are people in Europe who are cousins right now because the women had to share, in order to rebuild Europe, the women had to share the men that were there. Now, this was something that everybody tried to avoid talking about. The same thing that same thing I'm talking about. We tried to avoid down south. You know, about the outside families or whatever. This is polygamy. It's polygamy, and it's going to happen. You cannot make it not happen. Now, the good thing about the Muslim brothers and sisters over there, they realized this and they made it canon. They made it so that, hey, this is something that's in a part of our culture, that's accepted and all of that. And they made it a part of culture. But particularly the Arab cultures, man, they were they were so much at war with each other. They always had men shortages all the time. When you study these cultures, you'll see where all of this stuff comes from. So yeah, we're going to have to deal with reality. And the reality is you sisters are gonna have to see to it that brothers like Brother Adisa are not going to be whores. He's gonna be awarded more than one woman for his merit, for his virtue. All right. And it's women that have to take it upon themselves to do that. Meaning you have to stop giving yourselves to the thugs and the hustlers and all that kind of stuff, and know that the reality is you're not going to get a man of your own under normal circumstance. That's not going to happen. If you want a man of your own, you have to cultivate a multiple marriage situation where you have a say, where you have a part of the building block of that civilization. Otherwise, you know, we're going to be doing the same thing that we're doing now, and it's going to last forever. You're going to have sisters going to be putting on Max Factor and putting lipstick and declaring war against their fellow sister for the brother, and it'll never be over with. We have to stop to this.
I want to be clear, Gregory, on what you're saying, what you're contributing to this part of the conversation. You're saying that based on the question that Alkama asked, that the only logical solution, or as Alkama put it, alternative, one of the alternatives would be to consider polygamy. Am I hearing?
Not consider,
Okay.
to acknowledge it, to acknowledge what is already happening. These people with these multiple baby mamas, right? These serial relationships. Sometimes he might go back to one of them after he leaves one, and he goes back to another. You have all the women in the baby mama situations. The one that came before hates the one that's there. The one that's there hates the one that came before. You know, so there's warfare that's going on with this, and it leaves people like I was. Remember, I said that I was deprived of my family because they couldn't get people who came before me couldn't get their act together. Who knows what I would have learned from my aunt? Who knows what she might have gotten from me? I hinted at this at the beginning of this when everybody said, "What is it that I believe that we should do?" And I said, "Family is the basic thing that you have to do, no matter what." Now, some people are like, "Well, it ain't no family if it's a polygamous family." Yes, it is. It is a polygamous. It is a family if it's a polygamous family, if it's arranged right. The Muslim brothers and sisters know how to do this very, very well, very, very well, and we need to learn from them. We're going to have to learn from them, or it's going to be continuous war. That's what's going on now. It's continuous warfare.
Come on, I'm gonna say this one part. The definition of polygamy is the practice or custom of having more than one wife. Now, you mentioned before was an act of recklessness, so we want people to get mixed up with the word polygamy. Polygamy means that you're having more than one wife. That means that committed contract that we spoke about earlier, that commitment to what you're bringing in. You know what I'm saying, that you're committed to. What we discussed was a savage behavior where dropping babies everywhere. That's not polygamy. That's just being a straight savage. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you guys both were saying the same thing. He was just Gregory using that as an example of what's going on now. But
look, I'm being honest. All right, that's what all I'm saying is.
Yes, sir.
I'm being an honest brother, looking at what's on the ground.
Yes, sir.
Right. When you look at what's on the ground, then you can make real decisions. You're not going to make real decisions if you look. When people made these rules in ancient times about marriage, and a lot of them was plural marriage and concubines and all the kind of stuff like that. They put these things together because they saw what was in front of them. They saw what was right in front of their eyes. We in the Western world, we're real good at ignoring what's in front of our faces. We're real good at that. We're real good to tell each other what we think it is and what it is not that. You know, one of the things that you will find out when you go and you go amongst the Muslims they tell it like it is. So that they're not into all this sugar coating and all this stuff. That's the reason why I said earlier, you know, everybody needs a little bit of sprinkling of what these brothers and sisters have over there. You know, we tell it like it is. We deal with it.
There's some feedback going on somewhere. But I just want, and I know we're running out of time, way over time.
Yeah, because
But,
I gotta go.
yes, ma'am. But I just wanted to come back to Jazir because when the brothers was talking, I saw you over there rolling your eyes and shaking your head like you was like in total disagreement to something was going on. Did you have anything you wanted to express? Are you in disagreement with anything that was just being shared?
I would say I agree with some. I don't agree with all. No. Just to be blunt and to the point. Matter of fact, do me a favor, Queen Hanifa. What was the question again? Because I kind of forgot the question. What was the question again?
So it was just my piggyback off of Alkama was asking, and I wanted to clarify the question. So the way I clarified it is to use numbers just as an example. I was saying if there is 10 women and there's only 4 brothers available, right? And so now you have 6 women who don't have access to the men. Is it misleading to continue to tell those sisters, hold on there, do the work on yourself? You know what I mean? Or should we be discussing, like Alkama put it, alternatives? That was my question. Which was just like clarifying what I heard Alkama asking. So is it misleading? And if so, then what is the alternative?
It's definitely misleading. I mean, just 2 + 2 got to equal 4. That's just mathematics. But the thing for me is that the society that we're in, if black women want to be with a black man, and you ladies outnumber us, mathematically that tells you that's not going to happen unless something switches. The only way that can switch is that in African spirituality, some people were speaking about polygamy, and polygamy is not about sex. Usually polygamy in Africa usually was done because a woman lost her husband or there was war and people were left behind. So someone would take that woman in and take care of her. Mm-hmm. We're at war right now. We know that the men have been put in prison and locked in jails and killed throughout the 80s and 90s, are on crack and on drugs. So we're at war right now. So if we don't switch the mindset to go back to where we came from, which is if in times of war and loss, we got to take that woman in. Now, if that woman doesn't want to be taken in because she wants a monogamous situation, then that's kind of on that system. You may have to go to something outside of a black man. That's just reality. There's no other 2 ways about it. You either got to come in with us or you got to find something that don't look like us because you outnumber us. It's really that simple.
That's true.
Okay, so I know we have to wrap up.
Yeah.
I'm gonna let you guys all have your last words. But I did want to say I have enjoyed the conversation thus far.
Likewise.
Yeah.
Hear from all of you guys bringing all these different perspectives. I completely enjoyed it. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start with Brother Vaughn and let everyone just have their last word just around the topic of discussion, which was infidelity, stay or go, or just anything else that you want to say before departing. So Brother Vaughn, you got the floor, and then just say you're next.
First and foremost, it was an honor and a privilege to build my brothers. This is what it's all about. You know what I'm saying? And it's good for our sisters to see us as men to be able to converse in a civilized manner where we can agree to disagree, but we have more that we agreed upon and we settle on the best part. And I pray that those who are watching can see what it is for men to have a real cipher of growth, development, knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. And I want to say thank you to my sisters for having this platform that when you have a woman present, it definitely keeps the calm in the conversation, what have you. So thank you for that. My final words are that keep God first, no matter what your God you call it, keep him first in all that you do. And I know there's a lot of sisters out there hurting, but protect your womb. You are a responsibility. You are one of God's greatest creation. You have to realize that. And one of the things that we taught also is that you can't get to a diamond easily. You have to apply pressure. You have to dig for that. Let that person earn what they say they want from you. Don't give up what you have so easily, especially if you have children. You know, you got to be mindful of other hearts, not just yours. So keep God first. Brothers, if you're listening, we have to protect our sisters and protect their heart because we shouldn't be the ones responsible for hurting them. When they talk about hurt, they don't mention anybody else but the black man. We're supposed to be the protector. We must to make them feel so safe that they can go anywhere knowing if a black man is present, she's in the best company. We have become what our slave masters taught us to be himself. We become the beast himself. So for us to get out of that beast realm, that means that we have to change the way of thinking. We got to get out of lust and be a god. And to be a god means that you have to give up worldly ways in order for you to produce what we need to produce in this world. If we stop becoming producers, then our sisters don't have to look outside because she has all she wants in her own garden of black men who's willing to die for her, protect her, and make sure she can maintain. If you're not willing to die for your woman, you don't deserve one. So I'll leave it at that. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
Long.
Alaikum salam.
That's here.
For me, it's always going to be about Ori. Ori and Ifad means your mind and your head, which is where everything in your life is stored. So my suggestion to men and women alike, we as a people are damaged in our mind. And if we don't fix our mind, a lot of the things that we're discussing is pretty much not going to change.
Right.
So that's where I say start with everything. The womb needs to be protected, but the highest chakra is the crown chakra. And that crown chakra is your mind. If you don't protect and cultivate that crown chakra, your womb is going to fall prey to anything else. Your head controls the body, not the other way around. So my thing is always going to be people, black people in general, let's recalibrate our Ori. Let's return back to our original state. If we don't know, let's seek knowledge of what that was. And once we get there, all of these questions will become common sense answers, and we can move forward into a better society and leave a better world for our children to live in. I'll leave it at that.
Okay.
Ashe.
Okay.
And Gregory, make sure you share too with what you're doing in the realm of birthing.
Hmm?
In the realm of what you're doing, or your work, your life's work in
Waldemar.
huh?
Who are you speaking to?
Gregory.
Oh, it's your turn, Gregory. Go ahead. Sorry.
I just want to mention that to him in case he wasn't.
Okay, I don't think it would be too appropriate for me to talk about that right now, but I'd like to talk to you all about that after this is over
Okay.
for a couple of minutes. Okay, just apart from this,
Sure thing. Respect.
my wish is for family and women to be taken care of forever. When you do that, when you keep that in mind, everything else will kind of fall into place. You know, make sure that you take care of the family and the woman, and you'll take care of everything that's there. And you won't. And if women feel safe, they don't feel a sense that if there's a multiple marriage situation, that there's something evil that's going to befall her from coming into this situation. If it's a safe situation, she's living in a safe society where she knows that there's rules and regulations that's going to keep her safe. There's a ring past not, where her dignity and her outlook, is going to be paramount. Then the structure of the family can change in all kinds of different ways to suit whatever the circumstances that exist. I mean, there are people in this world where they have shortages of women. I mean, and then they have to. Then the women have to share. There's places in Nepal, Tibet, places like that. They have actually one woman with 2 or 3 brothers. She's married to all of them. It's all about how the family, how safe the woman feels within all of this. And therefore, when the woman feels safe, then the babies feel safe. And you won't grow up, you won't develop psychopathic children. When you have a situation where women don't feel safe, psychopathic children come out of these situations. You can say all kinds of stuff about it, but it begins with the safety of that woman from even before she conceives.
Ooh, that's good teaching.
All the way through the womb, all the way through everything. It's all about the safety of that woman. That's the bottom line. Whatever structure it is that you have, that's the bottom line of it all. And that's what I have to say about the marriage and infidelity issue or whatever. It has to do with the safety of the woman. That's what it has to do with.
Thank you, Gregory. All right, last but not least, Brother Adisa Talib.
Hey, so I can agree with all the brothers and what they're saying. Just my little bit would be, I always say we suffer from PTSD.
Yep.
We all suffer from it. And for a lot of us, we didn't have those mentors that knew how to handle that with our upbringing, because we saw so much dysfunctionalism going on that it just became normal.
Yep.
And so we have to realize that we need rites of passages. It doesn't have to be like what I went through, but it can be whatever that spiritual awakening is for a person. We have to peel back those layers of this dysfunctionalism that we've been operating in and holding on to in order to get to the next realm. They say comfort is a beautiful place, but nothing grows there. So for me, and I just want to jump back on the question, no, it wouldn't be misguiding to tell my sisters to continue to do your work,
okay,
and allow the universe to send you what you need. Because the greatest lie that has ever been told is that we have to go outside of ourselves to find God. So our people have been spending a lifetime looking in the sky and never going within. And sometimes going within is so ugly. The experiences that we've had is so ugly, but it's because we didn't have the facilitators there to help us with whatever those troubles were. So we have to be that which we say we want to be. So for all of our psychologists and doctors out there, be operating truth, justice, and righteousness, dealing with everyone, including your patients and everything, because it's going to take the entire brigade of all of us bringing something to the table to help each other get out of this situation.
Yeah.
It's gonna take that. And we can't be judgmental, because this is a lifetime. We just talking about 400 years plus years. It's gonna probably take 2,000 years for us to get on one accord. Remember, we got so many different belief mechanisms, and we so off because I don't believe what you believe in, and this, that, and the other.
Right.
My thing, if you operate in true justice and righteousness,
Mhm.
we can start walking and we can start building together.
Yes, sir.
God is called many names all over the globe, but guess what? I know my intentions is going to the one universal God, the one universal creator. When I wake up in the morning and I go outside and I pray and I go to my shrine, I don't ask God or go to my shrine about anything but protecting my family. Once I wake up, everything that I need to do, I know I have the strength to go out and do it. I just got to make sure that I make the right choices and I put my God and my Orisha involved in everything that I do. But I don't never going to be like, oh, I need this, I need financial this, no, I need you to protect my family. Because when I'm away from them, I need to know that they are safe. That's the only thing I ask for. But we have to learn how to operate in truth, justice, and righteousness. Honor the other person if they operating like that, and then we build. And definitely talking man-woman relationship.
That's right.
And
What is
that's all I have to say. I
Praise
appreciate
be
that,
to
sis.
Allah. Yes,
Beautiful
sir.
way to end this discussion. Beautiful way to end the discussion. This has been great. I mean, great. And I thank all of you for coming on to the Empower Hour. Those of you who are still watching, thank you so much for tuning in and sharing all your shares. Definitely get the word out, family. Definitely get the word out there. And keep us in mind every Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're right here coming to you with these type of discussions because this is what time it is. You know what I'm saying? We later for the twerking, I heard some Grammy stuff going on and all, it's time for us to get our house in order.
Mm-hmm.
And so we need to tune in to some civilized conversation and guidance so we can get our house in order. Because right now, what we're leaving right now as it stands, what we're leaving to these babies is a sick, cruel world. And we got the power to change that. But we just got to believe that. So I just ask you to tune in to not just Hanifa and I on the Empower Hour, but to any voice that's talking some sanity in an insane world.
That's
Please,
right.
family, it's time. It's beyond time to cut away all this foolishness. But Hanifa, did you want to?
I think you spoke for both of us, sweetie. Thank
Okay.
you.
Okay, family. Until next week, take care of each other out there. Peace and love.
All right. Love and peace. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam, sir.
It's been a pleasure, all the brothers.
Yes, sir.
Ashe.
Likewise.
All you brothers, been a pleasure.
We staying on, am I correct?